I kind of wanted to go into the time thing because I've mentioned how we're going backwards in time. I saw that machine when Maurice and I went in, and then somebody happened to put up that Og Telus video in Telegram like the same day, and he was talking about that very thing that he and I had seen. And it was going in, we were going in reverse, and then I read on it later, and I'm like, we're going in reverse, but we're aging. It's like they're making us think we're going forward and aging. So I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to tie all this in, hopefully, where it makes sense, because I'm just actually going to be reading the notes as I go. I literally just had a bunch of stuff come through this morning. So about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I said that you cannot create in a false reality. So what did I mean by that? I think I got it on a deeper level. And I think it's because we are reviewing what has already been created. And I've heard this before, like you're just reviewing the past, but what does that really mean? I think it really means that we are going in reverse in time. I brought something in I wanted to use to show you, and I don't see it here. Okay, so I'll just pause and go get it. So I'm going to try to draw a few things for you. This isn't going to be done that well because, like I said, this is an impromptu video to replace the interview. So it seems linear, but since everything in this world is backwards, where we think we're doing things and we're heading towards the future and oh, it's getting better. If we can keep that concept in our head that we're actually going in reverse. This is the direction we're going in. So let's say in the past, a little bit, that we designed and created a modern looking house, and we designed and built the first helicopter. I don't know how to draw a helicopter. And we created, I don't know, some device or something. So if we're here coming from the future, because I think this ties in when people say we're from the future. Well, literally, like, I don't know if we like, oh, we left the future and came back here. I think we're from the future heading to the past. We're going in reverse, and that's probably why we're aging, because we're getting shoved backwards. So here we are where things were, I don't know, better, worse, who knows what, but we're coming backward. And this is why you can predict something, because it's like, ooh, I can see this device in my mind. And then because you're coming up on this point where you created the device in the past. And helicopters, like we've seen those in the hieroglyphs in the pyramids, and it's like, well, why do those look like modern day helicopters? Because we're going backwards. Everything that has already been created is being created, and then this line's going to loop, right? So it's like we're doing the same things over and over. So I'm going to come back to this in a second. So remembering where we have already been, we're reviewing, and this is why we can predict things. So AI, I'm just going to read my notes. AI, or a false reality creation, is taking multiple pieces and assembling them or copying. So an AI mind is intellect, and it expands. And all it does is gather all this data. It's gathering data, analyzing, gathering. How's this fit? How's this fit? So it's got this mass of data, and it keeps gathering more and gathering more. So when it wants to create something, so it's like got all these pieces of data, and it wants to create something that looks like you, it can grab this piece here, this piece here, this piece here, pull them all together and form something that looks like you. And that's all they're doing. They're reassembling, they're copying, or they are copying, replicating. That was the word I was looking for. So, but we see this and we go, oh, look, AI can create. No, they can't. They're just taking all the pieces that are already here, merging them into something. So They're taking what has already in the past been created here by our spirit and reassembling it. So it looks like creation because AI can retain so many pieces that we've been mind wiped and we're only using part of our brain. So we can't remember all these freaking pieces to assemble. So when it chooses them, it creates by bringing together. So it's a magnetic world. It pulls all the pieces together into like magnetic pieces into this image. So this thing here, the world and the timelines are actually being created by our spirit. The part of us that is an extension of the creator that exists outside of a false reality. And this spark of consciousness got pulled in here. So this is what is broadcasting and creating this world. And it possibly actually created this world. And what we're seeing here, what this is seeing is a replica or a remake. So you can't create a false reality. You can just make choices because you're reviewing what's already been created. So let's keep going with this. So when someone writes or creates a song, the mind assembles the lyrics. It's just assembly, grabbing pieces and emotions and feelings and put all that together, the lyrics, the feelings, puts it all together, and it got a new song lyrics. And the music comes from the soul and the feeling behind the song, its message. And this soul spirit, the true creator connection, is what people call a muse. So when you're getting an idea, it's usually being taken from some real creation outside of here, outside of the false reality. God, I'm gonna make you dizzy here. So something out here outside the false reality, but we can copy it in here. We can remember it through the soul and then copy it in here. So that's our muse or our ideas that we get. But it's also why people get a lot of the same ideas because some of it's already been done. It's already in this mix and we're just reassembling like the AI does. But since we're in a false world using a limited language and limited musical notes, we are assembling rather than creating. So when you think about, okay, I played piano and you have the white keys and the black keys. So the black keys are either a flat or a sharp, depending on what key you're playing the music in. So it's like a half step up, like la. So it's in between two whole notes, but there's probably unlimited notes in between there. It's just what we're capable of hearing in this reality. So we've got this limited set of notes or keys or whatever that we can make a song out of. We've got limited language, limited letters, or whatever to make words out of. So let's keep going here. All right. So we have choices here, though. We can choose from what's already here, what we want to experience. But the caveat is because we are going in reverse, time's going in reverse, we can only create with the pieces left here of things already assembled. So like AI, we reassemble. So I've said that already. In ancient cultures, they used computers. So I think all this stuff's been around forever. So we know that because we're headed this way. And oh, look, computers are discovered because they've already been here. It's all from the past. Same with like the helicopter. So going backward is how they stop us from leaving here because you can't create in reverse. So they stop us from going this way and escaping and going back to real creation where we can actually create. They're forcing us backwards so that we can't create. We can only assemble or make choices. Thought that was an interesting comment or concept. I'm interested in the comments, what you think. So I have no idea what I wrote here. Remember before, get to memory, whatever. So stop. reverse and step up. So I was thinking maybe we need to stop this and get off the step off the timeline. So what happens in here? Meanwhile, groupthink is changing the world timeline. So what happens in here on this timeline is AI doesn't just give you this straight line. It gives you all these branches out, right? Of different choices. So if you go down this path, you go down this path here, you branch off. Here's where you create the computer or the helicopter. But if you go this way, you end up just getting married and working some job and whatever, like all these different choices. And then at the same time, we have the world timeline, which the group think is creating the world timeline on top of these personal timelines. So all these timelines aren't real simple so that we could figure them out. They get very complex. So I think I'm going to go get my prop. I don't know what the heck I did with it, but I want to get that so I can show you something. So let me pause this for a second. Okay, so here's my prop I want to show you for those of you that are in generations where you did not use these at all, but this is a cassette tape. Harry and I were briefly mentioning this, and I've mentioned it before in the last couple videos. So basically, this is magnetic-like tape that runs through here. I think it's magnetic, like a magnetic quality that holds the sound onto the tape or something. I'm not a freaking scientist, nor did I want to be. But anyway, so this is actually for this side, we're at the beginning of the tape. So you can see there's like no tape here. It's all over on this side. So as you press play, this starts to I'm backwards on the camera, sorry. This starts to run from this side, go to this side, and then this one's turning and it's starting to, all this tape is going over to this side. So when you press play, that's what starts happening. And then the music plays. But if you get to the end of this, it's going to look like this. So the tapes run out. So now you have to press rewind. And what this is it starts to spin and rewind the tape so that you can play this side of the tape over again. And as it's spinning and it gets more of this tape gets over here to this side, it starts to go faster and faster and faster and faster when it's getting near the end. And I think that's what our timeline is like. We're in this magnetic world, like this magnetic tape that's getting rewound. And that's why time is speeding up. So I'm going bug-eyed right now because I'm trying to look at this and this. I'm backwards. Just like we're going backwards in time. So what was my other point I wanted to make with this? Okay, so my other point is you not only can you rewind, you can fast forward this. So let's say you're at the beginning here. It actually will look like that because it is backwards. If you were at the beginning of the side, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you start playing it and you're like, oh, I don't like this song. So you can hit fast forward and it will hurry up and speed this up through that song. And then you can stop it and play. And hopefully you've jumped onto the next song. So this can go fast forward or fast rewind. And because our time is speeded up, I'm wondering if we're on one of those either all the time, we're on rewind all the time, or when you get close to resets, you're doing a fast forward or a fast rewind. So the tape is time, magnetic tape. And when it runs out of tape, the timeline ends or the video game ends because now everything's digital, right? So a cassette tape only speeds up on a fast forward or rewind. That means they don't have us on play. We are always on a fast forward or rewind. So that's an interesting, wild thought. And I'm wondering when we're on rewind, is that the dark ages where everything's backward and screwball? And when we're on fast forward, we're on the golden ages. I don't know, but let me get to that in a minute. So when you wanted to, this is a blank cassette tape that I can record songs onto it. or you can buy a cassette tape that already has songs recorded on it. But this is a blank one, so I can record whatever I want. I can record my voice, I can record a song off of a radio or wherever, and you press record, and it will start grabbing the sound and putting it onto the tape. Now, when I want to record, I pick up my phone and I press a record app. So where is my recording happening? It's happening right. It's not happening on this tape. It's not getting put on this tape that I can see and I can put away in my cabinet. It's now going into the meta, isn't it? It's going directly into the AI system. So now that we have digital recording, or whatever the proper term is for that, I don't care. I'm not, like I said, I'm not into any of this stuff. That's not my fields of expertise. But digital record is no longer on the tape. It's going directly into the AI system. So are already in the meta. So I said that in one of my fearless forecasts that I did, that we are already, I think it was the good news, bad news one. And a lot of the bad news on it, I said the good news is a lot of that isn't going to happen, but that was their plans. So I said in there that we are already in the meta. We think that's their plan to put us into it. We're already in it. And we also think it's like their plan where they're going to do this 2040 date, or they're going to do some date. Time has changed. We're on fast forward. So what we think is 2040 is probably 2020, or what we think is 2030 is probably 2020. They're not going to tell us the dates. They're not going to let anybody map that stuff out. I'm sorry. So then I went to I've been talking to trees lately. You know how I am. And I think the trees record old knowledge, and they're here a lot longer than we are. So I was hearing the days of old returning, they're returning. And I was like, old. And when I got the message, it comes telepathically. I could see the word OLDE with an E on the end, the days of old returning. And so I looked that up, and old has a bunch of different meanings. And some of them are connected into the charioteer in the sky, which to me maybe is Odin or something like that. I don't know. But when you put olden days with an N on the end in Sanskrit, it means golden, which is what I was thinking when I heard that. Days of old returning. And I was like, oh, Halcyon Days, or Halcyon. How the hell you say that word? I don't know. Halcyon. Who cares how you say it? I just said it both ways for you. Pick your way. But olden means golden. And golden is where we came from, the future. That's why people say we're from the future. The golden's over here. We're going backwards. And it's a mind Fuck, isn't it? I shouldn't be cussing. Um, so they're trying to reverse us into the dark age, but something, let me read to you also what this tree said, and it has to do with Halcyon. So one of them, which one was it? Let me see if I wrote down which tree it was. So I know it was the hazel tree talking about the Halcyon. So, oh, I pulled it up. So silly. All right, here we go. So I took notes. So the tree that was talking about the Halcyon Wars, or no, it was actually a crystal. I'm sorry, it was the jet. We are a truth stone, jet. I don't have a piece of it laying here to show you. Jet contains the history of the Halcyon Wars. And I was like, that sounds familiar. So I looked it up, and I think it was a sci-fi movie, but it's also a video game. And that's where a lot of that stuff is hidden anyway. So I was like, oh, this was a thing, the Halcyon Wars. And it's where evil reigned and the world went into complete darkness. It holds the records of this shift or fall into darkness. It is the interim between the golden and dark ages, where each side fights for control when their current ruling time is up. Everything runs in these cycles. Jet contains information of the original fall, shift from golden to dark, as a reminder to future generations. This stone is telling me to ask the trees for more information. And I said any specific tree, and it said the alder tree. Now, I don't know what the alder said, but let me go to the rest of the halcyon stuff. So the hazel tree said, the coming winter is upon you, but you will weather the storm. This tree group is talking about Halcyon Days, similar to, it made me think of the Halcyon Wars that the Jet was talking about. And I think they are referencing when things were better, because that's what that saying means. Oh, the Halcyon Days, those were the happy days. Some people talk about halcyon days as your childhood, the happy times, the sunny times. So, but this hazel tree was saying the halcyon days were when humanity was more pure in nature. Things were greener, fuller, the colors brighter, and other races were here that are now only myths. And so when I looked up halcyon days, it's a period of time from December 15th to February 15th. And I was like, whoa, today is December 28th. So we're literally in the middle of the halcyon days. So I'm still talking to this tree, and it said, yes, it's an attempt to take these days away from you, what you have now. So our life as we know it now, they're trying to take it away from us. The path or timeline that plays out is not clear. There is a fight to retain them, the halcyon times. So this to me is that fight that's coming up. Good side against bad side. Also interesting to note where that came from. Halcyon, I think this is a Greek translation. Maybe Harry can correct me, but is Alkenides Maris. Don't know how to say it. The Alkenides Maris days, or the Alkenides days, take place from around December 15th to February 15th each year. During this time, the days are typically sunny with clear skies and no wind. So I think that's why the tree was saying this to me, because it was December 28th. We were in the middle of the Alkenides days or the Halcyon days, but it's also referencing ages, golden ages, dark ages, periods of time with this cycle that repeats over and over and over. This is why I don't want to hear about ascension and 5D and all that nonsense. And they're going to just take us into another dimension, into a golden age and all this stuff. I'm not interested. I want us to create our own timeline and jump off this freaking fast forward or fast rewind they've got us on, stupid timeline. And go back to the real. So I thought that was super interesting. So I think it's referencing this time right now from December 15th to February 15th might be a halcyon time, like a break or a calm before the storm. The coming winter is upon you, but you will weather the storm. So I think it was referencing right now, but it's also referencing the on a grander scale, the ages. Let me just see while we're in here. My notes here. Oops. What alder tree? If it said anything. I don't know. Oh, okay. I just wrote the message from the stone jet. It told me to ask the alder trees for more information on the original fall of the golden age. This, by the way, is all going in a book. So just so you know. The fall of humanity, we were tricked, and this was the original trauma inflicted on the soul memory. All traumas resulted from this original one, like ongoing, never ending clockwork. We are an unassuming So we, the alder trees, are an unassuming tree, but very strong and hold the secrets of old. Again, the OLDE. All right. So there's that. So all this stuff is tying in to right now with these timelines. We're being fast forwarded to either another dark age. They're going to try to trick us into that or into another golden age. And I think we're all here to say we're not doing either age. We're grabbing hold of the timelines. Let me get this down. I can't even see the camera. We're grabbing hold of the timelines. We're going to make the timeline what we want. All right. So for the end of this video, I want to just talk about something that Gerald and I were going to talk about, and it's just my perception of it. But I want to pause just for a minute just to make sure there wasn't anything else. It seems like there was something else that I had discovered about that Halcyon stuff. Okay, so apparently there was more that I had written down. So there was another tree group I talked to that said we need to have a spiritual army and an army on the ground in order to be able to do this, to stop these age rollouts and to do our own timeline. And I think we do have this. I think, like I said, those of us that came here to do this are in different positions. We're all saviors in different positions trying to turn this ship around. And they were saying that we do turn it around. Um, and then there was another tree group that said this whole matrix image around us fades and we're back in the real world. So that's how it's going to come down, which makes sense to me because it's the perception.